Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Today I have a guest. Her name is Marie White, and she shares a very intimate story with us today about the abduction of one of her children. It's a very sensitive topic, of course. So there were certain questions that I was not allowed to ask and not allowed to probe into because it's still an ongoing investigation. But I thought it was important to share this story because she wrote a book entitled Strength for Parents of Missing Children, Surviving Divorce, Abduction, Runaways, and Foster Care. And it just covers any type of major loss that most people experience on a daily because we hear about these things daily and we never know when it's going to happen to us or someone that we know. And we usually don't know how to handle those things or deal with them. So I thought that it was really a great opportunity to talk to someone who is going through this, who's living through this, and who is able to write a book to kind of help others and guide others on how to continue living with such a huge burden to bear of losing a child. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. And please, if you have any comments, questions, or anything that you'd like to say, just reach out to me. I'm at ohhellnopodcast@gmail.com. You can leave some comments. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. And I'm on most platforms. And I hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to Oh Hell No with Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Today I have Marie White. She is an award-winning author, podcast host, and a director of publishing for Zamiz Press. Welcome, Marie. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Nicole. I'm glad to be here.
Cool. So when they say award-winning author, what does that mean? Like, what awards do you get as as an author?
It means I'm just too cool to talk to anybody, is what it means. No, it does not mean that. There are a number of literary awards out there. Some of them that you get nominated for, some that you, even like the Pulitzer Prize and things like that, that you have to nominate. You have to send your own books in, or your editor has to send your books in, or your publisher can. And then a group of people reads them and decides which ones are the award-winning books for that year.
Cool. I love it. So what did you dream of doing when you were a child?
Traveling the world. I think I wanted to travel the world.
Wow. Do you find that you are able to travel the world now as an adult?
I do. It's really funny. It's that whole, theory of if you really want it, it kind of comes your way. And it's kind of like you're just open to it. You're available for that thing to happen.
Yeah, I really believe in that. So when did you write your first story?
I think I've been writing my whole life. I can remember being as young as maybe 4 or 5 and writing stories about horses.
Wow. So writing is something that you've always loved and that you just kind of stuck with.
Well, it's something that I loved as a kid and as a teenager, but then, once you become an adult, I think all those kind of things really just, fly to the wayside. So I didn't write again after high school until I was an adult, until 4 years ago.
Really? So what were you doing before you decided to write a book?
I was in the military after high school. I went into the military. I was a nuclear bomb loader mechanic for the B-2 stealth bomber.
Girl, you better go
security
ahead.
Clearance.
What?
So it's been interesting. It's been a crazy life. And then the first of our children was born, and I became a stay-at-home mom and did daycare out of my home so I could stay home with our children as they were each born. And that's where I was when I became a writer.
So when you decided to be a stay-at-home mom, did you feel like you were giving up a part of yourself, or were you all in and that's all you wanted to focus on?
I was all in. I mean, it's a sacrifice because it means the part of you that might, go out for coffee or have lunch, or whatever it is, things you would do as an adult, all of that does have to die off when you stay home with your children. And for
Yes.
me, it was, 100% in. It was like, well, if I'm going to have kids, then they're going to be my sole focus.
Yeah, it's like really tough. I've been just having some days where I'm just feeling so overwhelmed. And I have like one child at home and I don't know, and my husband and I'm just like doing a lot of stuff and I'm just like, women do so much. It's like
Yes.
insane. Doesn't anybody notice this?
The short answer would be no.
Right? I mean, it's like, the men sometimes, and I'm not man bashing because I love you guys, but sometimes you just act like we're not doing anything, and we do a lot, you
And
know.
the thing is, we make it look easy, Nicole. That's what's happening. Is you make it look like it's easy, so then people take it for granted.
Yeah, because when I say I'm tired or I say I'm tired, my husband's like, "Oh, you're always complaining. You're always saying you're tired. You're always saying," I'm like, I am tired. I'm doing like 50 things. What the hell? Don't you?
That's right. And your job doesn't end at 5 o'clock.
Right. I come home, I do a podcast, I cook, I do errands. I got to make sure everything's right with my daughter in school. And then I recently started another small business and I'm just like, wait a minute, what am I doing to myself?
Yes, it's true. It's kind of like because you can, you do.
Yeah, exactly. And you just want to, live, so
Yes. Yes. Well, and even I find that we don't always say what we think we're saying.
yeah.
Like, you're saying, I'm tired. There's a whole lot behind that. As a
Yeah.
mom, I know what that means. It means I've got 50 more things to do before the night's over. The kids just went down. I've got about 5 minutes I can sit here, then I've got to get back up again. That's what I'm tired means. But when we say I'm tired, it doesn't express that.
Yeah, I think that's so true. It's more than just, oh, I'm tired, I need a nap.
Right.
Yeah, it's like I'm tired and I have so much more to do and I just don't know if I can get to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. I think I'm going to tell him that later.
Do not give him my phone number.
Right. I'm going to say Marie said.
That's right.
And
He'll
it's
be like,
fun.
you're not talking to her anymore.
It's funny because you have the same name as his mom, so he might think his mom.
She might be getting a bad phone call.
Right. So you're a stay-at-home mom, you're taking care of your children, and you're not working outside of the home because, excuse me, taking care of children at home is worse than an outside 9 to 5. Let me just tell you.
Yes.
Yes, because you never get to leave the workplace, right?
No.
You're there. So when we're leaving work on a Friday and we're like, see you, Monday, have a great weekend. Yeah, you don't get that. So,
Exactly.
right. And that really sucks. So it's very difficult to be a stay-at-home mom. It is a job and a half. And like you said, just going out and getting a cup of coffee or having lunch, it's not very easy because you have to take
Right.
your children.
Mhm.
And that is not a break. So you're at so you're at home, you're working this job of taking care of your family, and then when do you decide I want to write a book?
Well, the reason that you know who I am and the reason that I'm on this podcast is because 4 years ago, our toddler was abducted. So
Yes.
the idea of staying home with my children and raising them and protecting them and exposing them to things, great, adventures or the zoo or animals or whatever things we're doing, all of that got thrown in the air the day that I could no longer protect my child because they were abducted.
Right.
That's when writing entered my world.
So did you start off with writing a journal or just trying, because I can't even imagine the emotions and, the anxiety and all the things that you felt while you were going through this. So did you start writing, did you go back to writing as like a way of, like therapy for yourself, or how did that manifest itself?
Well, it started as, we're very, very blessed. We have a wonderful group of people, our church, our family, our friends, our neighbors, who were all, close to us and, just loving people in our lives that wanted to know what was happening moment by moment. Like, did we hear something? What did we know? Was there any information? And so it started out as emails to a group of people saying, okay, this is what we know today. This is what we heard just now. This is what, the police have said, or this place has said, or that place has said. This is what we know. And so it became almost daily writing these long emails of this is what we know, and also this is how we're feeling. Because people, they're asking us the same question, and sometimes you just didn't have the emotional energy to say it 10 times that day.
Right. Yeah. And that goes across the board with any type of traumatic situation,
Yes.
divorce, loss of a loved one, a variety of things. So that's really good that you said that. So you started with the emails and stuff, and then you decided to decided to like put all of this stuff in a book. I mean, what led you to say, you know what, I want to help other people, or, because you're still going through this whole situation, correct?
Yes.
Right.
That's correct.
So, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't even be able to say, well, let me turn a negative into a positive, and it helps you, with therapy, but just getting some stuff out there, but also helping other people. So when did that epiphany hit you?
About 4 months after the abduction, it is when life started to kind of have another rhythm. Like everything, we realized this may not end tomorrow. Like every day before that, every day for the first 4 months, we kept thinking, our child could be home tomorrow. This could all end tomorrow. Like there could be a miracle, there could be in news, there could be something. And at about 4 months, we started realizing this may not end the next day.
Yeah.
Our child may not come home right away. We don't know what's going to happen. And we started feeling like life was taking on a new rhythm. And that's very scary too, because not only have you made it past the first 4 months where every moment of your thoughts were going to your child and what's happening to them and how can I make it through and how do I eat and what do I do with my other kids and, life and work and all those things. Now all of a sudden you realize this could be my life. And that's really scary. But one of the first things that happened in that moment is I really just, as a Christian, just really cried out to God and said, okay, I know that you're in charge of life. I know that you could at any moment snap your fingers and fix this, but you've chosen not to. So tell me, what am I supposed to do with this time that you've given me? And then to have that be the answer to that was to start a YouTube channel that I started secretly and putting out videos. And then after that was done being recorded, 110 videos, the next thing I really felt like I was supposed to do was write a book. And the book that I was supposed to write was a book for a community I've never been a part of. And that was God's love for LGBTQI.
Wow. I love those moments where you turn to God and you just turn everything over and you ask him to take control. And then when you do get an answer or direction, like it never gets old to me when I interview people and they say that God gave them whatever it is that they were asking for. It's amazing.
Yes.
And I just love it. I really do. So the book, that was the first book you wrote. When did Strength for Parents of Missing Children, Surviving Divorce, Abduction, Runaways, and Foster Care come out? When did you write that book?
That was my 7th book, I believe.
7th?
Or 6th, one of the two. I can't remember. It's been so long.
Wow.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So the first book you wrote was, can you tell us the title again?
God's Love for LGBTQI.
LGBTQTI. So that means
lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and investigating.
Wow, that's amazing that you wrote that book. So you were moved to write that book. Do you know anyone that belongs to any of these communities?
Absolutely. I have lots of friends in the community, and it wasn't so much written for them. It was more written for going through this ourselves. It's almost like I had a radar on for people that were hurting.
Right.
And this was a community that I kept seeing again and again in so much pain. And I just wanted to reach out to them with God's love and just say, you know what? God loves you, even if people around you don't.
Wow, that is amazing. I love that. I really do. So then you wrote this first book and then you just start writing a second book.
Yeah, well, it was off going to different agents and things like that. I started writing a Bible study, again, kind of based on what we were going through, but just a simple one. So it ended up becoming 10-day Bible study. That ended up also getting translated into modern Greek and was used by missionaries in Greece. I also wrote an ebook called Changing Your Life in Just 10 Days, Creating the Life You're Always Meant to Live. And then I don't know what other books there are. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh, I can't
gosh.
remember. But
So,
eventually came Strength for Parents of Missing Children. That was obviously the hardest book to write.
of course. So it seems like this event triggered all of this, like, I don't know, this energy that you had inside of you that just came pouring out in books.
It did. It did. It almost became an obsession with getting these books that I felt needed to be right out there.
Right. And that's also something to focus on to kind of take your mind off for,
Yes.
because that I'm sure that consumed
Yes.
your every thought and probably still does.
Absolutely does.
So this book, Strength for Parents of Missing Children Surviving Divorce, Abduction, Runaways, and Foster Care. It's a very broad title. So, of course, you have the link with the missing children. Now, surviving divorce, is that something that you have also experienced?
It's not. But what I found was when I was doing all the materials to send to different agents, the marketing plan, I started looking at, it would ask you questions like, who else would use this book? Who else? And I started finding this community of people who had been divorced and one parent was keeping the children from the other parent.
Oh, as a result of an abduction or just period?
Just as a result of a divorce. Just,
Okay.
so-and-so cheating on their wife, they get divorced and then they feel guilty about it and take the kids.
Wow.
I mean, just
Yeah.
weird stuff. And they were living through the same things we were. Sometimes, people would get divorced and the other person or split up or whatever, and the other person would take the children to another country.
That's crazy, but I have heard stuff like that on the news.
Yes.
I'm not surprised by that because when people get divorced, they just fight dirty.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm glad that you are still together, your family's still together, and I'm really happy about that because when I saw this title, I was feeling, a little worried, but I'm glad
Absolutely.
that, I'm
Thank
really,
you.
I really mean that. So the abduction, runaways, and foster care. So you delve into a couple of other topics because you feel that, people experience this type of thing in other ways. What is parental alienation?
That's when one parent keeps the children from the other parent.
Okay.
And it's the oddest thing because you can have parents, I mean, like one parent, let's say they're a stay-at-home mom, and the dad finds somebody else. He decides to move in with that person. They're going through the divorce proceedings. The person he moves in with has always wanted to have kids. And, oh, this guy's got kids. And then all of a sudden they're making up false allegations against the mom, and she can no longer see her children who live in the same town, or, I mean, just weird, crazy things. And for that innocent parent to even go see the children could put them in jail. Wow. And then they will never see their children. So they're going through the same thing, only worse because they know where the children are and they can't get to them.
Right. Yes. That has got to be even worse.
It's just crazy.
So when we think of missing children, we think of kidnapping or abduction, but you say that there are other types of missing children. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. One group that I never even imagined would be part of this community that has built up around the book is parents who have drug-addicted adult children. Mm-hmm. And they're gone. They may be 17, 18, 20, 30 years old, but they're gone for weeks or months or years at a time, and they don't know if they're dead or alive.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah,
and they're going through the same emotions.
And so that speaks to runaways as well.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Wow. So what are parents of missing children going through physically?
Well, it's kind of odd. I mean, we were very blessed in the fact that we had had foster children for years and years in our home before this happened. And so I knew what trauma looked like, and I knew some techniques and things to work with it. And it turns out that when parents are going through this type of thing, when they have a runaway, when they have a child taken into foster care illegally, when they're going through a divorce and kept from their children, or when they have an abduction, they're going through trauma too. And we don't even realize it because we're in the middle of it. Our bodies are being flooded with the stress hormones of adrenaline and cortisol. And that actually makes your brain fuzzy. It makes it hard to sleep and relax, and it makes it almost impossible to eat. So one of the things I had to do was in the first couple of days in order to eat enough to function, I had to make things like, smoothies or drink soup really fast or anything that I could get into my belly quickly before I would start to gag because you're so nervous. You're like a football player before he goes out to play and you see him vomiting on the sideline.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, I could just imagine. And I'm sure some parents have had that moment where they turn around and maybe they don't see their child for a minute.
Hmm.
Because I'm sure most parents have experienced that, whether it's in the house or outside. And, your child just disappears for a second. And you're like, oh my
Yes.
God, and you have that feeling in the pit of your stomach. That happened to me once with my son in the house. Like I was freaking out. But he went upstairs to my aunt's house and.
Yes.
So I definitely, and my daughter, she used to hide in like cabinets. So,
Oh my
where the
goodness.
pots are. I don't know. I have some
Yes.
weird kids.
And that's that same feeling.
Yes,
It just never goes away.
exactly. And that feeling it's like your stomach drops and you're like,
Yes.
where is my child? So I can't even, fathom not being able to find your child. Like I, you know, I give my hat off to you because I know that has got to be so difficult. So I'm glad that you have a good circle around you and that you're faithful,
Oh, thank you.
because
We have been very blessed. I think that's part of the reason that we have been so blessed in this is that so that we would have enough strength to go ahead and write this resource that nobody had.
right. Can you describe some of the emotions that parents go through?
Well, it's funny because I write about a couple things in the book that I did not go through myself, but that I've heard other people going through. I mean, I'm part of Facebook groups for like parental alienation, even though that's not my exact situation, with 40,000 members.
Wow.
So you're talking about 40,000 people on that one Facebook group, and I'm a member of probably 40 Facebook groups for that are going through a very similar form of this. And your question again? I
Oh,
just
no,
lost
that's
my
okay. I was saying, what are some of the emotions that you go
Okay,
through? Yeah.
yes. One of the things that I kept hearing over and over again are that parents would say, I had a good day today, and I started to smile or laugh, and I stopped myself and said, you will not laugh. You will not be happy because if my children are not happy, I will not be happy.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, we can't do that to ourselves. It is hard enough, let alone beating ourselves up for having a day where we smiled or laughed. We need that. And so that's an emotion of guilt beyond, if you were, to be walking down the street and your child was abducted because you weren't watching them, of course you would feel guilty about that.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, this person had guilt, and a lot of people sympathized with that and identified with it. They had guilt because they were happy.
Yeah.
But,
I,
it's for us, it's been 4 years. And
yeah.
yes, we did not laugh that first year, and we did not laugh a lot that second year. But at 4 years on, we're starting to laugh,
Yeah.
and we need that.
Yeah, because you're still alive, you're here, you have other children, so,
Yes,
you have to carry on. I mean, you don't forget and but what are you going to do? But I can
right.
understand the first, couple years or whatever, feeling guilty about having, a good day. That just makes sense. You can understand it, but
Yes,
it's just like I guess if someone, like your husband passed away or your wife passed away or whatever, it's like moving on. Like if you meet someone, you might feel
yes,
guilty, like, oh my God, I'm dating, like.
yes,
Oh gosh, it's just so much. It really
it
is.
is.
It really is. So what can friends and family say to help, anyone that's going through parental alienation or the loss of a child or a child being abducted or their child running away? What are some of the things that we can do to be supportive?
The things that helped us the most were when people would send an email. Hey, I was just thinking about you guys today. Or a card would come in the mail because a card was something you could see and hold and put up in your house. Something that just said, hey, we love you guys. We're here for you. If you need anything, give me a call. And the biggest thing was when I would get texts in the middle of the night. Either I'd be up in the middle of the night or I'd wake up in the middle of the night or I'd get up the next morning and see that it was sent in the middle of the night. Somebody just saying, hey, I woke up and you and your child were on my mind. And I just wanted to let you know I was praying for you. You're just like somebody at midnight was praying for my child to come home. You know what? I can't ask for a better gift than that.
Yeah, that's really special. And I also want to add that maybe too, people should not feel rejected or upset if they don't get an immediate response, or if they don't hear from their friend who is going through,
Yes.
such a traumatic, experience. It's not that they're shutting you out, or, it's just sometimes, I'm sure, like you said early on, sometimes you don't even have the energy to, talk, just to be like,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's an excellent point.
Yeah. So, what are some things that people should not say? Because
There are lots of things.
exactly.
Well, one thing that actually was said to us, and I bring this up because it brings up 2 points. Somebody came up to me one time in the very beginning, I don't know how many weeks it was in, and said, Marie, you need to let this go. Your child's not coming home.
What?
And you think, oh my gosh, what kind of heartless person would say that? But it was amazing because in that moment, I wanted to stand there just, with my mouth agape, just looking at them like, are you insane?
That's like an
But
oh
I,
hell no moment. That's
right,
yeah.
right. But instead, it was amazing because I could see their heart and I could see what they were really saying. And what she was saying is, your hoping is breaking my heart to see you hurting this badly. I just can't see it anymore. Please stop hoping. And so I was able to I just, kind of nodded and moved along and let it go. A couple of days later, someone else came up to me and said, your child's going to come home. Don't worry about it. And I wanted to scream at them, how do you know?
Right.
And I realized my reactions were off. No matter what somebody said to me, I was going to find it offensive because I was hurting so badly. And that person who said that in the beginning, who said your child's not coming home, they came around within a couple of months and actually have been one of our biggest supporters for 4 years. So it's just your emotions when you're going through something really traumatic are crazy up in the air, and you're going to respond to things wrong. So I would ask that your friends forgive you for that, and that you don't always use the response you're thinking,
Right.
because it may not be accurate.
Right. So basically, anything that someone says is the wrong thing.
It could be. It
Right.
really could.
Because
In that moment when you're so upset, in your mind, you can be thinking, that was terrible, when they really weren't saying anything bad.
right. So, what 3 things can you tell parents living through this right now?
Well, I think like you said earlier, where a lot of this applies to anything that you're going through. If you're going through a bankruptcy, if you've just been fired, if you've lost your house, if you're going through any of these, terrible things that we all have to live through eventually in life, your world becomes very gloomy very quickly. It's amazing how great your life can be, and one thing goes wrong and all of a sudden it feels like it's awful. So there's a couple things that you can do no matter what situation you're in. Obviously, I did it in my situation, but whatever people are going through, it applies. And the 3 things would be to, 1, eat a banana a day. Bananas are the king of mood boosting superfoods, and they can actually help you to improve your mood. And it's cheap. So if you've just been fired or bankrupt or going through a nasty divorce, you can afford a banana a day. The second thing I would say is you need to get outside. When you're in trauma, the first thing you're going to want to do is sit in your house watching TV or on the computer while you're watching TV, and not getting any sunlight, not getting any fresh air, and you will just drive yourself insane. You need to be outside in the sunlight for 30 minutes per day. And the third thing you need to do is you need to get exercise. And you can do that just taking a walk around the block. You can go to a gym. You can do whatever it is you need to do. You can combine it with your outside time and get 30 minutes of exercise outside. And it will change your mindset and allow you to be more resilient, whatever you're going through.
That's great advice.
Well, I've lived it. So this is how I survived.
Right. So tell us how going through this has impacted the way you look at life, because I'm sure it's altered it a little, maybe for the positive, maybe for the negative, but tell us.
It really has. It makes you not take it for granted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, all of a sudden you're just like, time is precious. Time with your friends, with your family. You know that at any moment it could be gone. And you start to really kind of freak out when you're going through something like this. And you kind of start thinking, well, if this could happen, what else could happen? Like, are you going to walk outside, get hit by a bus? Like what? It feels like your life's unprotected. So
Right.
the negative of that would be you'd be thinking, oh my gosh, everything could go wrong. But the positive is, hey, I don't know how long I'm going to be around for. So whatever dreams, ambitions, hopes I had, I better do them now.
So because of this whole situation, have you become overprotective or very like, I don't know, nervous, or were you able to manage that? Or, because after any type of traumatic event, it usually changes the way we respond to the normal everyday thing. So, like an
Mm-hmm.
outing with your kids, a year after that happened, were you okay with doing that? Or, are you always like making sure the door's locked? Or, just like in reaction to what has happened, did you notice anything that changed in you with regard to that kind of stuff? Or, and if you did, how did you manage that?
Well, that's an excellent question, Nicole. Good one.
Thanks.
I've never had that question before. Yeah, I would say for the first 6 months, especially, I was in paranoia mode. I mean, even like the blinds of our house were slightly turned, so it wasn't easy to look in when you drove by.
Mm-hmm.
The second 6 months, I started to maybe open the blinds a little,
Mm-hmm.
and be a little less protective. After the first year, it started to go down a lot. And my husband is the one who's really good about saying, you're being paranoid. And I'm like, it's not paranoia if it already happened.
Right.
But luckily, our other kids were older. So we had two teenagers and then we had our toddler. So it was a big enough age gap that I wasn't as concerned that was going to happen with them.
Right. Okay.
It's more like, here, this is how you have self-defense. This is how you protect yourself.
Right.
Here's your, pepper spray for your purse or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm already paranoid. So that's
Yes.
why I would ask a question like that.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely. And I
yeah.
think, like I said, we were foster parents for many years, and I think we introduced that element to our lives. Had we not been foster parents ever, this would not have been an issue.
What,
So I don't want,
being
go ahead,
paranoid?
sorry. No, I mean, this kind of thing happening.
Oh, okay. I understand.
So I think that parents don't need to go lock all their doors and close all their blinds thinking it could just happen randomly. It can happen randomly, and it does. But one, you can't prepare for that. And two, it just, the people you invite into your life always have a possibility of going wrong.
Yeah. So you have to just be very careful about your
Yes.
surroundings and everything. Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
with everyone,
it
honestly.
is.
In today's world, just turn on the news and,
Right.
it's no joke. What is the one thing that you take from all of this, that has happened? Give me a positive and give me something that, I don't know, maybe it's not so positive, but it's real?
Mm-hmm. A positive is that I no longer think of things to do, I do them. So it's no longer, oh, someone should do that or that should be made or whatever. It's like if I think of it, I do it, which is why there are a whole bunch of books out.
Right.
And I had the other one and I just lost it. See, this actually, seriously, this is one of the things that happens to you when you go through this much stress.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
actually does cause adrenal fatigue and it does cause a little bit of brain fog. And so there are times when I completely lose what I'm going to be talking about.
I
And
have
it's not just age.
I know I have brain fog all the time, so I'm not
Oh.
judging. But let me see if I could, get that thought going again. So I said, give me a negative or
Mhm.
something that you learned from it that's not so positive, but it's real.
That life is hard. I mean, you really try to push that off a lot. You try to think, what people can be good, situations can be good. We really try to live in the positive, good things that happen. We're in a safe country, whatever. But then all of a sudden reality hits you that life is not always fair. It's not always perfect. Life is hard.
I'd agree. Wow. Well, this is the Oh Hell No podcast, and you have to share an Oh Hell No moment with us. And, we all have Oh Hell No moments
Mhm.
all the time. We learn from them, we grow from them, and we push through them. So share with us an Oh Hell No moment. I know you've had the biggest oh hell no moment of life, but maybe share something positive, because oh hell no moments can be positive. Maybe something came to you that you would have never imagined and it was a positive thing and you were like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe this is happening to me. Like this is great.
Oh my goodness, this is tough. Like the pick one. There's so many amazing things that have happened. Okay, I'll give you one. I just did a TEDx talk
Oh, cool.
in what month was it? April maybe. I traveled over to Maryland or to Delaware, and did a TEDx talk. Like that was, I never in a million years thought something like that would happen. And someone heard the story and wanted to know how could we, how could it could be shared with other people to let them know that life does give you a chance for do-overs.
Yeah. Wow.
And so that was awesome. That was a, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm on this stage. And if I make any mistakes, I can't edit it and it's there for posterity.
Right. Okay. So that's like an oh hell yes moment.
It is.
That's awesome. Well, it was so nice talking to you today. And
Nicole.
thank you so much for sharing your story with us because I know it's not easy to, constantly talk about this, but what you're doing is you're helping others, So sometimes we have to push through the pain and heartache that we've experienced, but from it, came something good that can help others. And that's what you're doing by getting out there and, teaching people how to deal with this stuff. So I commend you and I think you're awesome.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. You too. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
No problem.